sound effects ebook, which is really exciting. We're still working on the technology of that, the kind of book that you would just plug your phone into the speakers, and you'd have the activity in the phone, and then you just press the button, and the sound effect would come out of the phone or the tablet or your computer. Scott Thornbury is working on some kind of thing of the discussions that have gone on the blog and stuff like that. We've spoken to several other bloggers, authors, and people about different projects, and we're waiting to see what comes in. Really, people are sending in ideas.
Have you mentioned someone called Shelley Terrell?
Shelley is doing a book called The Virtual Educator, which I think is a really apt title, on harnessing all the social networking for educators and stuff. Essentially, how round is the round? Well, what it'll be is it'll be a community that keeps growing. So what happens is, what someone has done a project with the round, then they would be invited later on to mentor somebody else who's new to writing into doing their own project with the round and stuff. We're looking at the moment at ebooks. We have got an app designer. Apps is another area we're looking at. Our own designer, Mark Bain, wants to do. He saw a project called the One Page Book, which is like a big poster kind of thing.
I think the nice thing about this model is that authors can kind of take a punt on what they think is going to run. So if they want to make a print version of their book available on an on-demand basis, then there's nothing to stop them. If they have some unusual format that they want to explore, then they have the opportunity to do that, and we will market whatever they come up with, providing it's meets our kind of collective quality mark. We'll market it on the round, and so we're not dictating to people and saying there's only one way to publish. But when we listen to people's ideas, we want to hear about the content. We want to hear about what they see as the likely market, because those are questions that any publisher would ask.
Yeah.
Also, we're open to suggestions about formatting. We're going to learn from people working with us. We're going to learn from each other. And it may be that someone comes up with a fantastic new format, and then everyone else in the round. Why not?
Okay, so Vicky's comment is, what can you offer people remarketing that might make it more tempting than self-publishing? The difference is we do it all together. So the website, the round, will be a general kind of like, imagine it as a bookshop or a bookshop window, or as a shop window where you would have all these things. So you might then see something else by someone else, and so on. So it's not sold by the round. We don't sell anything except our own product. The author sells their own product. But at the round, it's almost like it's like a marketing space. It's sort of like, well, you're there with a lot of other people alongside you. Yeah. So as opposed to each of us doing it on our own, in different corners of the web and having to market it that way. This way, everyone is sort of it becomes a place where people would eventually go. It's still very early days. Does that answer the question?
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yes, it does answer. It does answer my question. And I'm thinking here of people like Peter Vinis, produced, self-published recently. Paul Emerson's just done it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it and thinking, it's difficult for them because they are on their own. On the other hand, maybe there's the round, and maybe there's a sort of outer circle of people who've already self-published, but still, I think there is a strength in force. If you can gather people together in one location on the web, then it's much more sensible.
Well, that's essentially what we want to do. Is we want to gather as many people together as possible, while keeping an eye on sort of quality control and all of that, so that it doesn't tend to look like we're publishing us and our friends, for example. But by doing that, then it becomes a place where you would be able to find those things as well, because this wouldn't preclude selling it somewhere else as well. You could sell it via your own website also. Having it in the round just means that it's sort of like the shop window where lots of people are.
Yeah.
Just one of the reasons why it does work so well is because you guys travel quite a bit and go to different conferences and you know, some of the people that are published with the round, so they can spread the word out and help the really new authors. I think that's the great part of it too, is that, you know, there are people that are pretty experienced and can make this kind of go out and spread it along, versus if someone had to do it by themselves.
I think what's one of the things that's interesting, Shelley, is that so many people have shown an interest in getting involved, even though and getting involved on the kind of mentoring basis. And hopefully we'll be writing a blog about this fairly soon.
I have you both here. Anna Perez said that she would like to see if you guys would sing a little tune for her.
Get around, get around, yeah, get around,
I get around. There, that's all.
Up and down the thing.
Someone's talking about e-publishing and e-books in general. Vicky's mentioned something about video embedding. Well, yeah, I mean, there are lots of... The thing is that once we start looking at this, it becomes very... I mean, I still haven't even thought about all the different possibilities that could exist. For example, when Mike Harrison was talking about a book that makes sounds itself, you know, from the phone, that to me is a really interesting way of pushing the envelope a little bit on what is a book. Things with embedded video. Nikki's book that she's working on webinars, she wants to have embedded samples of webinar things that have worked and not worked. So that obviously becomes really interesting as well. A book, other things, for example, a book that updates itself every 6 months is another possibility. In fact, the first one that we're doing is quite conservative in terms of design. It's just going to be text and images, but that's because we want to figure out exactly how you publish stuff ourselves. You know, we want to figure that out first, but afterwards, it really is the sky the limit. I mean, so it depends what will emerge. Other things that I've been looking at are other things that are online. Things like flash fiction, very short fiction stories. Things like imagine things for the one-to-one teacher. Imagine apps or programs or book type things that are for the one-to-one teacher and student who both have their Blackberries or iPhones or smartphones in front of them. So think of that thing, and then what kind of material they could use, and then work from there. Imagine products like Jason Renshaw has been imagining already, which are just for the interactive whiteboard.